Hello and welcome to Angel and Demon Gaming channel. Sorry for my insolence in not being able to get back to you for the last few days. The last few days have been very interesting. Just been doing some more research, into my rights, as I think we should all do, which has actually spurred me to not just go after Frontier Developments PLC in Cambridge for the theft of my game and my money, and I've decided that I'm going to go after them all. Because they're all guilty of it, just like I've said throughout my videos. I believe they're all guilty of it because I'm a gamer. I play games, I purchase games all the time, and I've got all the best games that everyone else has got. So, and I still feel that those games are ripping people off. It's a lot of money to buy a game that costs £100, over £100, to buy something that you don't actually own. You don't own these things. So whenever you ever heard of people buying something that costs, or not buying, my apologies, but renting something that costs that much, and it's not a car or a hotel or something that's actually tangible. Do you know what I mean? Something you can actually touch and, enjoy that. It's an actual goods. You're actually getting something, What do you know of that? It's only in this market that is acceptable and allowed, but it's only because they don't understand it, like I've said over and over and over again, okay? So to the guy who sent me the email explaining to me about Blizzard, something happened between Blizzard and a German guy who created something about Minecraft. I know about Minecraft, but I don't play Minecraft, so I wouldn't understand. Obviously he created something, but I'm not in the same situation as that. I didn't create anything. I just bounced off of their mechanics, which someone else had created, I would have been like maybe one of the kids that basically downloaded it and was using it. But did you see those kids get banned? This is the thing, they didn't get banned. They didn't get their money taken, and get no game in replace. You didn't hear nothing in that story, my friend, who sent me that email. You didn't hear, he's the one that got into trouble. He owed 8.5 million, because he created a program that disturbed their game in such a way that it was stealing resources. My situation is nothing like that at all, And did they get banned? No. So my whole point is that they got too much control over our money and over us, and that should not be allowed. So I'm going to start this off by showing you who these people are. I'm not going to go into it because it's a long video. If you want to, I'm going to leave the link in the description. So if anyone's interested and you want to educate yourself about these rules and about what is allowed from what is not allowed, from what is a legal case, from what is not a legal case, then you can go to here. It's a 5-hour long video, which is why I'm not going to play it for 5 hours. But I'm going to show you the first maybe 5 minutes, just so that you can know exactly what you're looking at, what you're going to be looking for. Yeah? Even though the link will be in the description.
Good afternoon and welcome back to our live stream digital event. On the panel this afternoon we have some of the top enforcers and top academics in our field. And we are going to discuss some of the issues that came up this morning and some of the general themes that we are discussing quite often at these events. I have a great panel around me.
Hold on. Start that again. My apologies.
So we're really trying to not just look at what's happening now, but also look at what could be happening in the future so that we fully understand who are competitors now, but who might be competitors in the future and how that will work.
One of the fascinating but also challenging elements of digital markets is that they are cross-territorial. They don't have physical boundaries. So all competition authorities across the world have to look at these issues and think about them and what that means.
in particular with digital mergers, which are focused online and often involve large platforms, there's a lot of looking forwards, thinking about what might come in the future, and we have to really think about a kind of dynamic assessment. And in particular, we have to think, if we've got companies who are already in the market, who are big players, what might the future implications of a merger with a smaller player be, and what impact might that have in terms of the quality of service, not necessarily the price, because often digital markets have non-price effects. So we talk about quality, we talk about the range of services, we talk about just the level of service that you as an individual will receive. And so we're thinking about those particularly in a future-looking way.
We're looking to develop our own intelligence. We want to upskill. We want to understand these markets. We want to build capacity. We want to put ourselves on a level footing with these big companies. So there is no difference between what we know and what they know from a technical level and from a competition level. So we can have meaningful discussions and look to sort of drive competition within these markets.
So I think one of the big challenges is keeping up with the tech firms and all of the kind of the algorithms and things that they're using, and that's one of the big reasons that we've now invested quite a lot in this new data team, which is the team that I'm in, where we've got about 30 data scientists, data engineers, and technology insight officers as well, to actually try and keep up with the technology firms. So we do employ AI algorithms, that sort of thing, to actually help internally in the CMA. So we build our knowledge, and we can also understand what's going on externally as well.
We need to think about how we can work flexibly and adapt, because one of the challenges of digital markets is that they develop at a really quick pace, which is fantastic because it means there's innovation which can lead to benefits for competition and consumers, but it also creates a challenge for competition authorities and regulators. And what we need to do to be able to, I suppose, identify issues before they really become entrenched, and what that means for how we work and what we do.
Good afternoon and welcome back to our live stream digital event. On the panel this afternoon we have some of the top enforcers and top academics in our field, and we are going to discuss some of the issues that came up this morning and some of the general themes that we are discussing quite often at these events. I have a great panel around me. Professor Diane Coyle is a professor of public policy at the University of Cambridge. She was one of the members of the Furman panel who produced the Furman report. Andreas Mundt, president of the German Cartel Office and chair of the steering group of the International Competition Network, which is the main international body for coordination among antitrust agencies. Professor Fiona Scott Morton to my left, professor at Yale, former chief economist at the Department of Justice and lead author of the report for the Stigler Center on Digital Platform. That has been another very impactful report over the last year or so. Isabel da Silva, president of the French Competition Authority and formerly judge at the Supreme Administrative Court in France. And last but not least, Rebecca Slaughter, commissioner at the FTC in the States. So I would like to take advantage of the panel and the expertise around me to try to make some progress on practical solutions, changes, institutional changes, what we want to see to actually see impacts in the near term. So how can we move from some of these excellent reports that we discussed, the Furman report, the Stigler Center report, into actual changes in the way we do things. So the first theme I want to discuss is, well, to fast forward a few years, and let's say we're now in sort of 2025, where do we think we will be in terms of competition and regulation, institutional features? Where do we think realistically we can get to actually address some of the concerns that are coming to us as agency heads? So let's start with you, Andreas. on this particular theme.
And that's where I'll leave it. And if you want to go and watch it, then there will be a link in the description for you to go and watch it. It's very long-winded. This one is like an hour and a half, but the whole thing, there's another one there, which is this one here, and this is like 5 hours long. One of these are 5 hours long. So just scroll through it and you will find it. Second to that, what is more important to me is what I'm going to focus on right now. What is important to me? This is the same people, okay? The CMA, Competition and Markets Authority, okay? Now this publication that I'm going to read a little bit of is going to show you that what happened to me is actually illegal, okay? That what they done was illegal. And 2, can't leave you with nothing. You know, you're supposed to have something, okay? So I'm not going to read through all of it, obviously, because it is very long, but I would say to you that you start off on part 4. So it will be part 4. Wherever part 4 is, wait, if we're going past it. Part 4. Okay, so, and I'm going to read this all out. Oh, bloody hell, what's wrong with this thing here now? So this is dealing with the introduction. So this is part 4 of part 1, yeah? Now it says introduction. The Act makes certain contract terms and one kind of consumer notice legal, ineffective, not binding on or enforceably by the trader against the consumer in a number of specific situations. For the purpose for this guidance, the CMA refers to these terms or notices as blacklisted. Terms and notices can also be ineffective and unenforceable if they are found to be unfair by reference to the general fairness test in part 2 of the Act. However, if they are blacklisted, they are automatically unenforceable, and so there is no need to apply the fairness test. Although the practical effects of a term or notice being blacklisted and being found unfair may be similar for businesses and consumers, these effects are produced. Wait a minute. Okay, here we go. Right. These effects are produced independently and via different legal mechanisms. The same wording can be separately both blacklisted and unfair. See below. However, while any blacklisted term or notice is highly likely to be unfair, it is not true that any particular unfair wording is also likely to be blacklisted, whereas the fairness requirements in Part 2 of the Act apply to most consumer contract terms and consumer notices. Blacklisting under Part 1 is applicable to only a very limited number of terms and not to all kind of contracts. So you better listen up. Any example of blacklisted wording is provided by Section 65(1) in Part 2 of the Act. This provides the trader cannot use a consumer contract term or notice to exclude or restrict liability for death or personal injury resulting from negligence. This does not apply in all cases. The exceptions include contracts for insurance. Similar provisions was formerly found in the UCTA. This one is the most extreme for me, yeah? So listen up, yeah? Part 1 of the Act also blacklists various terms in contracts for a trader to supply goods, digital content, and services to consumers. The kind of terms covered include those which aim to relieve traders from their ordinary obligations under the Act to ensure their products are satisfactory quality and that their services are provided with reasonable care. See below Part 5 of the guidance, paragraphs 1 and 2 of the grey list for examples of the different forms that such disclaimers can take. This is the grey list. We're not going to go for the grey list. Terms in such contracts are also blacklisted where they are inconsistent with the rights which consumers have under the Act. An example is a term which does not ensure the consumer gets full legal rights to own goods being supplied, where the contract is a license agreement covering digital content like games. A term is blacklisted if it's inconsistent with the full legal rights to use the digital content. Did you hear that? Did you bloody hear that? And there's more. There's a lot more. Yeah? An example is a term. I'm going to start again from 68. Yeah? An example is a term which does not ensure the consumer gets full legal rights to own goods being supplied. Where the contract is a license agreement covering digital content, a term is blacklisted if it is inconsistent with the full legal rights to use the digital content. I've been denied access and my money's been taken. So that's a slap in the face and a stamp on the head. Not obviously physically, but that's mental. Yeah? Below is an overview blacklisting provisions in the Act, which you can go through at your own discretion. Yeah, I'm going to keep it moving. Yeah? I'm not going to go through all this. I'm going to go to the part that means the most to me. All of it means the most, yeah? But if you start on here, goods, yeah, 4 of 13, yeah, the Act gives consumers a number of important rights under the contract for the supply of goods. The main ones are goods must be of satisfactory quality, yeah? 2, goods must be fit for their purpose, including any particular purpose the consumer made known to the seller before the contract. Goods must match the description, which I've always said. Goods must match the description given to them by the trader, particularly, for instance, in marketing them. But that's not and or. That's not just applicable just to that. These rights apply to the consumer contracts for goods, whether the goods are supplied by sale, hire purchase, or any other way, provided the customer pays for them or gives something else in exchange. Most of these rights reflect those given to consumers when buying goods by previous legislation. The table for statutory rights below gives a detailed picture covering all the rights and remedies in Part 1 of the Act, both old and new. It lists the statutory rights in relation to purchases of goods together with the remedies that are available to the consumer. If any of these rights are not met, listen, 415, yeah? As indicated above, any term of the contract which is calculated to have the effect of excluding or restricting the trader's liability in respect of any of these rights or the available remedies is blacklisted. In other words, they're in trouble. Yeah? So too is any term making the remedy more difficult for the consumer to enforce. Like basically like being arseholes, basically. So they're just like doing what Frontier are doing right now. Yeah? Doing exactly that. Yeah? The table of statutory rights below also specifies in relation to each right listed the extent to which the blacklisting applies to the contract terms which purport to exclude or limit the trader's liability for breach of it or the consumer's access to available remedies in the event of breach of it. Okay? So they are not allowed to do certain things, right? They're not allowed to do it. Digital content, yeah? The Act introduced a new category of product distinct from goods and services known as digital content, defined in the key concepts sections of Part 1 above. Consumers are given certain statutory rights and remedies in relation to it. These rights are mainly similar to and conferred in the same way as those enjoyed by consumers buying goods. but there are some differences reflecting the special nature of digital content, i.e. games, yeah? In particular, there is no right to reject substandard digital content. See the table of statutory rights below. Under the Act, digital content that has been paid for directly or indirectly must be satisfactory quality, fit for purpose, and as described. A term calculated to exclude or restrict the liability for breach of these rights or hinder, listen up suckers, or hinder access to any available remedies associated with this is blacklisted. See the table for statutory rights below. This mirrors the position in relation to goods as just described. It is also a statutory requirement that the business, listen up. I'm gonna start again. It is also a statutory requirement that the business must have the right to supply such digital content, that it is to enable the consumer, me, to use it or to own it. If ownership is being transferred, did you hear that? You numpties telling me about flipping the end user license agreement. And I mean nothing. It is a statutory requirement that the business must have the right to supply such digital content, that it is to enable the consumer to use it or own it. If ownership is being transferred, see below. A contract term seeking to a contract term seeking to exclude or restrict liability for breach of this requirement or hindering access to any available remedy is also blacklisted and unenforceable. This is to mirror a provision in the Act regarding the sale of goods. And I'm going to leave it right there because I think I've clearly made my point. You can't take away my purchase. They've got no complaints procedure. You can't. Oh yeah. To give you a quick update as well, I'll throw my update in there about what Frontier said. I did get a response from their legal department. Their legal department was basically just mirroring what the people in the ticket who was giving out the tickets, from their support side was saying. And that I breached this, I breached that. But that still doesn't, nowhere in that does it say you can run off with my money, scum. Nowhere in that does it say you can run off with my money or run off with my purchase. So at the end of the day, they hide behind the fact that you click the button. That's not a reason. None of that is a reason. And the fact that they've not tried to remedy the problem, they're also in more trouble. Also, in that letter that they had sent to me, it's been sitting there a couple of days. I didn't realize because it went to the junk mail. I have to go through the junk mail. I totally forget about the junk mail. All I focus on is the important mail, and I've got 2 emails. So it was kind of impossible for me to get there at the time when it came through, but I did get through it and I read through it, and basically they're telling me to now delete everything off of my computer. But if I'm taking you to court, I'm looking to take them to small claims court, yeah, because in this CMA, it also says that no one has the right to decide anything apart from a judge. So when they're saying that they've got the right to do all these things, they don't have none of those rights at all. They're trying to trick us to make us think that they've got those rights, and that's for the UK. Anywhere else, I don't know, you're going to have to check your own rules. But for the UK, they're trying to trick us. They're trying to tell us this, tell us that, They're overpriced games. Look at when the PlayStation 5 comes out. Who knows what hidden lurgy bad practices are lurking in that console. It's going to be overpriced. They've already said that they're going to be making it with less quality components, which means that your computer is not going to last as long as it should. These computers are supposed to last around 7 years until the next computer comes, about 7 years, between 7 and 10 years, I'll say it's about 7 years, yeah? And then they like to bring out a new computer. But what's happening is that as the new computers are being made, they're starting to put less better components in it, so that the computer breaks a lot quicker. Basically, you go out, you buy another one. That's how they want it. You know, on top of it, the games, they have all the rights to do all these things to us. We got no right. They nerf the games, they do whatever they want, they change certain things when people are used to things. That is breaching our contract terms. Yeah? That is breaching our rights. Denying us access to the games is breaching our rights. And also denying us our money back. It would be a totally different story if they took back their game and gave you back your money. Shut up, yeah, here's your money, take your money back. And then you would have no grounds to complain, you know? But yeah, I'm going to leave it there. I think I've said more than enough. I think I've proven my point. All of what I've said, you can go in and you can read it for yourself. Yeah? It is very long, be warned. But we have to all come together and show these people, because they don't know about all these kind of things. You know? They don't know about all these prices in these games. And the wickedest thing, what makes it even worse, is that these games are not worth that money. They're not worth that money because it's the same game. Let's use Call of Duty as a good example. Call of Duty's been out a very long time. It's got loads of fans, got a hell of a lot of fan base, millions and millions of people play it around the world. But it's the same game. It's the same game since the first Call of Duty come out. The only thing that is different is the graphics. That's it. And a few things that they might add in. All the things that they've added are things to take and make money from you, so they can keep on rolling, you know, keep on reeling us in, you know. That's a crooked technique. You don't do that to people. And their practice is getting worse and worse and worse and worse, and it needs to be regulated. None of these things are being properly regulated. You know, we don't have, like I've checked, we don't have someone that is an ombudsman that you can go to for these kind of things. It just doesn't exist. You can have it for energy and communication.